Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everyone. I want to thank Roman and Terry for having me here. I know I've been trying to coordinate this for a few years, and my schedule is always crazy, but I'm glad to finally make it. Basically, I started off as a skateboarder when I was about 10 years old, and as common as that seems now, back then, it was about the furthest thing from cool that you could do. And I just loved it. I loved every time I went to do it. I got better at it. I loved that there was always something new to learn. There was always a way to push yourself. There was always a new challenge. And I eventually made my way into competition, started doing really well. Right about the time that it died almost completely was when I was sort of on my way up. And so to turn professional at the age of 14 may seem amazing, but when you think about the small world of skateboarding back then and how much it meant to kids my age, which basically meant it's like telling them that you're a pro Frisbee player, if that. They just thought it was lame, it was kid stuff and whatever. But I loved it, and I knew there was something more to it. I just felt like there was more, there was a real creative aspect to the culture, to the lifestyle. There was so much energy, music involved, so much innovation. And also it was very athletic, and it was very challenging, and so I loved it, and I just kept doing it. Eventually turned pro and reached the top of the pro ranks. Skating started to get recognized a bit in the late 80s. People were more into the lifestyle and the sort of look of it more, I'd say, than the actual skating aspect, but whatever it took for us to make a living at it, we didn't really care. And eventually came around, but then it kind of died again because the skate parks closed. There was a lot of insurance problems. Skateboarding in general was considered negative back then, mostly because of the stigma of kids sneaking into swimming pools and skating, because we didn't have any skate parks, so that's what we had to do. And then they took to the streets, and then they were a nuisance on the streets because they were hitting the rails and the ledges, but no one was really providing any facilities for this, so we just did whatever we could. And then eventually skating started coming back in the late 90s, mid-90s, I'd say. X Games treated it kind of as a novelty, but gave it airtime, gave it an event. Kids really identified with the riders. They felt like they were more approachable. They liked the daredevil aspect to what we were doing. They liked the instant gratification. They liked the creativity. They were getting, I think, a bit disenfranchised with the pro mainstream athletes because they seemed so untouchable, and they seemed like they didn't really have a passion for what they were doing. They were, a lot of them just came across as doing it for the fame or the money. And here we are risking our lives for nothing, basically. And it was, in touch with the MTV generation of action, and I hate the word extreme, but I'll say it, okay, extreme. And suddenly, there was an appreciation for skating that we never really had before, but mostly it created a fan base for skating, and that was the moment when skating broke through, when it was no longer considered a fad or a novelty. It was that moment when suddenly there was a guy on the couch that was watching it, had no interest in ever skating, but liked it and wanted to see more of it. Around the same time, we released my first video game, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and that was like the perfect storm. The amount of mainstream coverage that skating was getting, and our success at having a video game about skating took it to a whole new level of appreciation, and really built a foundation for which we stand on today. I mean, here we are 13 years after my first video game release, 18 years into the X Games, really 17 or 18 years. And, kids, there are more kids that skate now than play Little League. That's just a fact, and baseball's American pastime. So we were here. And it's still considered, a bit fringe and, I don't know, I guess alternative, but we see it as a lifestyle, and so does Quicksilver. I mean, and so through the years, I've started a few businesses, including Hot Clothing, which was started by my sisters and I, my brother and I, because we all had kids, and we could not find cool clothing for our kids. It was like, you have a kid, and he's a Koopy doll. That's it. Or it's Oshkosh Bagosh. What happened to just clothes that we wear? Why can't they look cool too? Why do they have to look like little dress-up toys? So we started Hot Clothing on that, basically on that whole idea that we want to make cool clothes for kids. And we took it as far as we could. I mean, we literally had a warehouse down the street in San Clemente. And we took it as far as we could without having to raise more capital. We were dumping all of our money into it at the time. Luckily, I was having incredible success with video games and with my own personal skate career. So that was, that was keeping it alive. But we knew we were reaching a point where we couldn't. And we actually, our first choice of working with a bigger company was to go to Quicksilver. We met with Bob, I remember, at some dingy Mexican place down the street, and presented our case to him, and he's like, I could just tell he had been hearing that kind of stuff day and night. Everyone wanted to work with Quicksilver, and it was like, okay, I'll take it back to my guys. And eventually, that planted a seed where they thought it was a really good idea, and they purchased Hot Clothing from us, and here we are 12 years later. It's exclusively at Kohl's now. It's one of the best things that we've ever done. It's one of the best career decisions I've ever made. And it's been a blessing. And so to be able to work with a company like Quicksilver that gets this culture, that gets this lifestyle, that was hugely important. And I guess if I had to attribute any success through all these projects, it's in working with people that get it, that understand the passion that you have, and understand, and all the people that I work with, especially, things don't get to me until it's been through them, because they know that I trust them implicitly. I trust their artistic direction. I trust that they understand this culture, and I don't have time to go fixing everything. I went through a string of that in sort of late 90s, early 2000s with working with different companies, like bigger companies, that wanted to just get into the extreme action. And, bigger, like Frito-Lay, McDonald's and things. And I was thankful for all those relationships, but at the same time, every time there was this crash course, and that's not what our culture is. That's not it. You're faking, kids are going to think this is cheesy. You've got to listen to us. And eventually I earned enough clout and reputation in those worlds that they would listen to us, and they would take those directions. And around that time, like 2002, I saw the interest in skating start to develop again. People were embracing it. Communities were embracing it. City councils were suddenly taking notice that, hey, look at all these kids skating in the mall and not playing on the fields that we provided them. Wonder if we should build a skate facility for them. And they did. And generally, the skate facilities were in affluent areas. They were open with a lot of fanfare, a lot of self-congratulatory press from the city council members, and I got invited to a couple of these openings. One especially, I think that, well, for me, the big moment was going to this one in Chicago that was in a very affluent suburb. All these city council members were there when I got there. I got there the night before the opening, and they said, "Do you want a sneak preview of the park?" I said, "Yeah, because we haven't opened to the public yet." Okay, so I went. And I'm skating around, and there were just these, it was like someone saw a video game from 1980 of skateboarding and made their own version of that, but these banks were not smooth, stairs ran into walls. I mean, it was just this strange interpretation of a skate park. And they're all watching me skate, and I come back, and they said, "What do you think? What do you think?" And I said, "It's terrible." I mean, I knew from the backstory that they had spent several $100,000s on this project. I'm like, this is bad. I'm sorry. This is probably worse than your mall to skate. And they said, "You know what? That's what all the kids said." But we said, "Wait till Tony Hawk gets here, and he'll show you how to skate this thing." And I realized that the people who were providing these facilities just weren't listening to the people they were providing it for. They were just doing it, and they were going with their lowest sidewalk contracting bid. Someone says, "Yeah, I can build a skate park. I can pour cement." That's not meaning you can build a skate park. That means you know how to pour cement. And to be honest, the cement sucked too. So I don't know what they were doing. But I decided that I wanted to change that tide, and that I finally had come to a level of success that people would listen to what I was saying. And so I decided I wanted to start a foundation to help bridge that gap between the people they're providing for and the people that were funding these things or approving them or providing them at all, but mostly to redirect those funding all that funding to more needy areas, because there were kids growing up in at-risk areas, places, inner cities, that love skating. Skating is prolific now. It's not just a beach culture. It's everywhere. It's urban. It's street. It is. It's street skating. I mean, you look at the big events right now. It's guys going down handrails and skating on curbs and downstairs and ledges and things. And so I said I want to see those kids get those opportunities and have those facilities. And so we started the Tony Hawk Foundation. I started with $125,000 that I won on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. But I didn't know who played the original Batgirl, so I couldn't get to the next level. And no, it was one of the girls from Sex and the City. I don't know, Kim Cattrall. Anyway, you would have lost it for me. I would not have called you on that one. So we started the foundation. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we knew that there was a lot of work to be done. Learned a lot through the process and of how to use funds to get more funding. Our biggest grant in a round, we've been going 12 years now with the foundation. Our biggest grant is $25,000 in a round of applications. But our $25,000 goes on usually to either push the project into its final phases or to raise more funds and to really to get in our endorsement goes a long way, is what I'm saying. We have since helped to develop over 500 skate parks. We've helped to fund. We've given away over $4 million through Tony Hawk Foundation, and those funds have leveraged many more. I mean, over like $40 million, and helped to basically help about 4 million children. I mean, 4 million kids to have a place to skate. And as trivial as that may sound for a foundation, for a charity, it's not, because when you see these kids in these inner cities that have, like in Compton, we helped to fund almost entirely that project. In Compton, they have a world-class skate facility. These kids have a place to hone these skills. We're not trying to breed professionals. We're just trying to have a place where the kids can feel empowered and feel like they're looked after by their community. And when you see these kids in the faces of appreciation and the sense of disbelief that they have this place right there in their backyard, it's pretty incredible. And these parks get used from sunup to sundown. And I can't say the same for other sports facilities. I'm not here to bash other mainstream sports, but if you look at baseball fields, they sit empty most of the day. A lot of basketball courts too. Skate parks, I mean, you got to get to a skate park early if you want to skate, if you want to have any time there with relatively few people. And so we're really proud of the work we do, and still, like I said, still going very much. Quicksilver has been a huge supporter of our foundation. We have a few other underwriters of our foundation. We do a big fundraiser every year in Beverly Hills. Last year, was that last year? It seems like so. It's just yesterday, but yes, we had Black Keys play at our fundraiser. We have a lot of exclusive auction items. We have a huge skate demo. Guys like Shaun White, Bucky Lasek, Matt Hoffman come out just for the foundation. So we're really proud of that. But beyond that, I'm just happy that we get to provide these facilities for kids in need. And selfishly, I like that there are more places to skate. I love to go visit them. I've been to a few grand openings, just most recently Long Beach and in Atlanta. And those skate parks are insane. I mean, if you told me when I started skating that I'd be going to a world-class skate facility in a place like Atlanta or that I helped to provide, I would have said that you're absolutely crazy. I mean, for me, it was just like my dad built me a quarter pipe in our driveway on one sheet of plywood, and that was my dream come true. So anything from there on out is gravy. Beyond that, I'm still doing the video games. That has literally changed my life. To have a successful video game series was nothing I ever imagined. I just was excited to work on a video game and to make it something that skaters are proud of. I mean, through all of this, my biggest concern has been the integrity for skateboarding and how our sports are presented and that it's authentic. And so I knew when I got involved with the video game, it was going to be a lot of work to one, educate the video game manufacturer on what is real in our world, but also to make it something that's fun to play. And being like you said, a super tech geek, I played video games most of my life. So I knew what made a fun video game. Once our first game was released, and I heard the skate industry, the people that I think are sort of the more core element of our world, they would just call it the game. That's when I knew it was something special. When guys that I knew that were super finicky about anything, they said, "Did you play the game? When are you getting the new game? When's the sequel to the game coming out?" I knew that we had something. And to this date, I mean, I've had kids come up to me in recent years and say, "Oh, this is Tony Hawk." And they said, "Did your parents name you after the video game?" And some moms I've met where they, "Oh, this is Tony Hawk." Well, I thought it was just a video game character. I didn't know there was a real person. And so be it. I'm happy to live on. I guess I have more lifespan on video games anyway. But we are working on a new one right now. It's the best of our first two for the new systems, and I'm super excited that I'm still living in that world, but also that I still get to spread the message of skateboarding and something that has really brought me. What really has brought me the most happiness and has brought me a career that I never dreamed of. People say, "Is this what you dreamed of?" This dream didn't exist. When I was 10 years old, if you were the best skateboarder in the world, your picture was in a magazine and you got some free stuff. And once you hit an age of responsibility, you're out because you got to find a job because no one's paying you. So this is, I guess, we're as amazing as it is. I don't take it for granted. And I'm, when you say, "Are you living the dream?" Yeah, we're living the dream. We're making up the dream. We're still making up the dream. I'm going to be 44 soon. I'm still a pro skater. That's, for even 10 years ago, to tell someone that is unheard of. No one skated past 30 at all. But no one really had the opportunity. There weren't the facilities. There wasn't a career to be had in your 30s and into your adult life. It was very short-lived, but now here we are, and I'm still making up tricks, believe it or not. I'm not trying to break any height or distance records because I realize that an injury is, well, I know firsthand that an injury is much harder to come back from, but at the same time, we're leading the way. Maybe I'm the guinea pig for how far you can take this at what age, but I'm happy to pave that way. Thank you.